Payload faction fired on the Israelis. The IDF retaliated with artillery. This made travel between the various spots where airfield PLO leaders were held up difficult.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kristian Cordero. I'm the creative director of Savage Mind. It's an independent bookshop in Naga City, and right now we are in this art space called Kamarin. Kamarin is the Spanish word for rice granary. The province is named after the rice granaries, Camarines Sur, Camarin, and the idea to have this name for this art space is to turn this art space into a space for ideas and imagination. Ideas and imagination are like seeds, are like rice that we need to plant every now and then for us to get this strength and sustenance that we need as a people. And right now we are happy and privileged to have this conversation with three Bicolana authors, and I'd like to introduce them to our audience wherever you are in the world. We begin first with award-winning fictionist. She is from Naga City, the author of Flowers for Thursday, which was a finalist in the National Book Award for Best Book in Fiction in English, Mia Tijam.
Hello.
Next to Mia is Dr. Jane Guazon Uy, the author of the Book of Pedro Bautista, which was cited as one of the best books for a particular year by CNN Philippines. Dr. Jane Guazon Uy, who is also a medical doctor in the morning and writer by night. And then the newly published book of Savage Mind. It's a children's book. Tabi Apo Dagos sa Kinakban in a Beni Asinino. It's a bilingual book written by Trixie Adviento Odiamar, who is with us tonight. And you, Axel, is the editor of the
Literatur.Review.
Yes. And I'm giving you now the microphone so that I can hold on my glass.
That's right, and I pass it over to Trixie. Yes, I mean, children's books are normally quite neglected, I think, in the public view. Normally children's books, I mean, I know a couple of German children authors, and they always complain that, I mean, they're not taken serious. Is it the same here in Bicol, in the Philippines?
Definitely there's similarities in it, but as I was also a child before, I didn't have any book that is representing my culture and my language. So it's always based on, Western, Disney, so it doesn't represent my reality. So now I wanted to be able to also create that world for the new generation. So having a bilingual book would represent the kids now, because also the way we would have to create it should also represent the color of the skin, the build of the kid, because here we don't really have a Filipino or regional stories that represents our culture. So with the book, it really connects us to nature that is present in our region.
And I think what is very special to the book, and what Kristian already told us, is that it's bilingual. I mean, why do you think this is important to have a bilingual book in this region?
Because we as Filipino is innately speaks English, but doesn't really give value to our language in the region. So pairing it with English and our Bicolano language, able to connect them more to our language, which is Bicol, and using few simple words that really connects them to English, gives them more vocabulary, and then which they could really use in their daily lives to communicate with the elderly.
Yes, I mean, I've heard at universities like Anateo and in Manila that the students coming there, I mean, they even to the Filipino courses. They have to take them, but they don't like it. I mean, they want to speak English only.
Yeah.
I mean, is this a problem for you as well? And this is a try to go to the first generation, maybe, to establish the idea how important and how.
Actually, it has been really a problem now in the society in the Philippines, where kids are very bright in English, but then they have to repeat their level, or they have to transfer to school because they flank Filipino subjects, and that's the representation of the current generation. And having a bilingual book that is in Bicol and in English, that's my hope that the kids in our region are able to value our own language, and as they grow older, they have more connection to our origin.
Yeah, that would be great, isn't it? I mean, we see in the Philippines that it's that so many things are still in English only, like the constitution, like at courts. I mean, that there are people who doesn't speak at all English. I mean, they are more or less quite helpless with that. I mean, with the situation, and I think to give more importance to the local languages.
One, if you could confirm, but one of the official language of the Philippines is also English.
Yes.
So you can go any parts of the Philippines, they would know how to speak English. You can have conversation with them. But in the education tool for younger generation, there's great disconnect of our own language, especially. There's a regional language, but also there's a national language. So kids are quite confused how they would use their own mother tongue and then their regional language in their daily lives, because the way they think and the way they would speak is automatically English in their formative years.
Yeah.
Because counting, color identification, also direction, parents would usually teach their kids primarily English first.
Yes, and I think this is a good point now to go over to Mary Jane, because I think we can find the roots, of course, in history for that. And you've this is just a guess, of course, a very stupid guess maybe, but I think you've written a book that covers almost more than 300 years, and is it, or is it more or less?
5.
It's 5. Yeah, right. You're right. My counting was always bad. It's 5. It's
Yes.
right. It starts. I mean, actually, if you look at it, it starts with the Japanese and.
Right after the Spaniards occupied the Philippines.
Yes.
That's where my story started.
That's right, and you have a kind of time traveler. I would
Yes.
call him who is. I mean, he actually doesn't want to be a time traveler. He is haunted. I mean, he's like a ghost, more or less,
Yes.
and
He's cursed.
he's cursed. Yeah,
Yes.
it's a bit like the Bottle Imp by Stevenson. I mean, he is somehow
living forever.
That's right.
But not in a nice way, because he's also bothered by all these demons.
That's right.
So it's like he's prevented from enjoying that kind of life that he's supposed to, a never-ending life, but without any deaths, but then with all the sufferings. But anyway, I was talking. we were talking about language
and history and how it is, of course,
Yes.
driven by patterns that might have been set in the very early history of colonialization.
The way I see it, I've been interviewing a lot of young people who apply in our hospital, and they're not good in English, they're not good in Tagalog,
Yeah.
and they are not good in Bicolano either. It's a catastrophe. You know, they are not good in any of the languages. It's good you speak English, fine, but you have to have vocabulary. That's what my children always say. They speak English, but they don't have vocabulary. They use the wrong words, they use the wrong terms. And we have to be exact. If we have to be scientific, you know, the Germans are very scientific, very precise. And in our language, we have to be precise. Even in Bicolano or in Tagalog. There has to be a precision in language, so that I'm a physician, so we have to be very precise in our language, so that we arrive at the correct treatment and the correct diagnosis. It is non-negotiable.
But what do you do? I mean, when like the hero in your book, this girl that becomes older and older, and
Yes.
and that of course she reflects about all this, about history, about that the Japanese once tried to conquer
Luzon.
Philippines, and then in the end, in the Second World War, they managed, and then the world
Yes,
chased
it's-
away as well. I mean, it is a history of being taken and taken and taken, and
People don't know this very well.
exactly. And was this one of the reasons that you wrote this
Yeah,
book?
I got very interested because when I read about the history, I found out that not many people knew or know that the Japanese wanted to attack Luzon as early as the 16th century.
Me neither. I didn't know. I mean, this was news for me.
Yeah, so isn't that
I thought Second
interesting?
World War was the first go for them. I mean,
Yes. So this was one of those things that really inspired me to write and make a tale out of it. Of course, if you just lay down all the history, it has no charm whatsoever. Okay, so you have to have a story around it, so that people will want to read
Yeah.
and return back to what happened, and maybe find themselves there. Maybe have a connection of your own past that you've never been to, but still is continuing.
yeah, and I think what you show very well is that through local history, you show world history. I mean, that is, and how the world always was connected to each other, and that you never had a chance as an isolated country. I mean, you were
Yes.
always part of the gamble for the world.
Yes.
And this is, I think, well put in this novel. That, and I think this.
We have been globalized even before.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
this is, and therefore, this historic novel, in my view, is very contemporary. I mean, it is a story about the present, more or less.
Yes.
And what would you say in the end? I mean, there's this this kind of, how you call it, an aswang or something like this. She's. I mean, I'm really not good in mythology, so this is, so please bear with me. I mean,
I want to write about that,
yeah,
but then continue.
that she's at one point taken or almost taken over by it. I mean,
Yes.
in the center of your book, and this is something I didn't understand with my background knowledge. What does it actually mean, this moment when she's almost swallowed up by this creature?
That one was
Aswang,
that,
yeah.
that was the turning point where Senor Paeng had to leave.
Exactly, because he knew
He had to leave because his family was already being threatened by the demons that were around him. So he had to leave to keep them safe. Sacrifices,
Of course, yeah, very sad. Because it's a love story as well.
Yes,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
a love story. Sacrifice.
Very Catholic.
Yes.
I didn't see it this way. It's Catholic, yeah. In a way, it's very Catholic.
Yes, he had to leave. Yes, because there was this scene in the book where he was already being attacked by the demon.
That's right. Yeah.
So Senor Paeng had to leave them. Be separate.
And then this creature, it's a mix of Catholic demon and aswang. I mean, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
But anyway, it makes it. That's where the magic is,
Yes.
Where you have a license to. There's a creative license of all writers, to
Of course,
create your own reality.
Yes. I
Yeah.
understand. I understand.
And I hope you enjoyed it.
Yes, I read it in one go. I had to take this.
It's short.
I had to take this long bus trip from Manila to here, and because I wanted to see how the roads are. I'm always interested in countries to see. I mean, the roads tell you the story of the country normally. And of course, the story is that this part is quite neglected. I mean,
We are the worst. We have the worst highway in the Philippines.
Yes.
If you've been to other to other provinces, you will see that the roads are quite good. But we have the worst.
Yeah, and this is the reason to please pass the micro to your neighbor, because one of her stories, we will see her collection of stories, Flowers for Thursday. There is one special story that tells us as well what we have just talked about this neglection of the area, and it's a story about a young girl that turns to be a rebel, part of a movement. And I thought when I read it first, because I'm really not so familiar with Filipino history. My background is African studies, so I did future research in Central Africa, and this interest for this region came only very late, a couple of years ago. But I'm really intrigued. I'm very fascinated, and yeah, this story. Then when I first saw it, though I was mistaken. I've already learned that it was happening during martial law, but she told me that the story about the young girl who turns into the rebel movement was told about the year 2006.
Thereabouts, yeah.
Yeah, and this was completely new to me. I met Michael Beltran, who wrote this book about Joma, and he said there are still rebel movements out there in the Philippines. It's all there. You still take arms because you don't want to stand like this. You have to change something, and through your story now I know that this part of the country is one of the hotspots.
Yes, when it comes to, because again, we have to take it from understanding, knowing the history of the Philippines vis-a-vis the history of Bicol region. And so when we're talking about the revolutionary movement, most people who would read the Philippine literature would either think about Jose Rizal, the time of the Spanish occupation of the Philippines, which lasted for 333 years.
Yeah.
And then there's the American occupation, which lasted quite a couple of decades. And if you're going to look at it critically, it could still be the case because it's a matter of neo-capitalism.
Yeah.
And things like that.
And look at all the fast food chains. I mean, it's,
and then in these stories, it's that story that you cited particularly, that's wishes to come true. That was the title of the story. It's a time capsule. It's a depiction of what really happened in the news in real life, of this ongoing saga, of the effects of these colonizations and occupations on our economic status and conditions. And it's an ongoing thing, and that's where the revolution is coming from. Like, how do we write these ongoing things that began in the time actually still of our occupation when we were colonized? And that's where I think I'd like to relate to the language that when we started, because our stories were written in English.
yes.
And then in Trixie's children's book, this is bilingual. So you've got English and then Bicol. In the second edition of the book, because the first edition was just English. So the stories were originally written in English and then they were translated. So this is a bilingual version. It was translated to my mother tongue, which is Rinconada. And in literature itself, there is not yet much produced literary texts, like in print, of Rinconada works. So that was the intention, to represent that language, even in Bicol literature, much more on a national literature. So there's that, to represent, to give that voice. And us writing in English is an offshoot of the benevolent assimilation of the Americans. It's the colonizers' tongue.
Of course, that's the language.
Yeah, so that's that. So with us writing in English, what is the intention? And what is our intention of using English? And so in my case, it was a very conscious effort to subvert that language, for that language to represent actually our culture, our symbols, our history, albeit with the English language. And we have to take into consideration that in a country that has more than 180 languages, we also have world Englishes. It's not just the standard of the Queen's English or American English, which is the typical standard. We have world Englishes, and Philippine English, which is the kind of English used in this book, has been valid since 1982. And these are the things, this the sort of like hotspot of languages that we're negotiating through. As we communicate and write in English, like what sort of symbols, the syntax, the structure, the vocabulary that we subvert, and at the same time is representative of what is Philippine English.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting what you're saying, and I always wonder why this big project of a national language that had success in Tanzania with Kiswahili, that had success with Bahasa in Indonesia, why didn't it materialize in the Philippines?
Because we are an archipelago. And then we have, from the anthropological perspective, it's very difficult, very problematic to have that sort of encompassing language when you are an archipelago. And so the move from, if I'm not mistaken, this was one of the establishments of the Philippine Commonwealth from 1935 Constitution, the establishment of a national language in an effort to unify this archipelago. But it's been, and August is buwan ng wika in the Philippines, where we're this national language that up until in 2025 is a point of contention, because this national language is a manufactured language in the sense that it's still dominantly Tagalog, which is one language, when in fact this national language should be a synthesis of, let's say, all the languages, which is again very difficult.
Like Bahasa, take the smallest dialect there is in the whole country, and then
Elected it.
yeah, and then elected, or the same in Tanzania. I mean, this Kiswahili is one of the smallest Bantu dialects spoken, so nobody got any aggression. Oh, why have you chosen this and not us?
Exactly. That's the reason why it succeeded, because they selected the inferior language. Bahasa is a minority language until the state selected it. In the case of the Philippines, Tagalog is not a minority language, but it was the language of the revolution. The revolution that started in the capital, in Manila. And Manuel L. Quezon is Tagalog. But they voted. Even the Bicol commissioner voted for Tagalog. So I think the idea of a national language is, it's always a matter of contention. You know? When in the Philippines, who says that this is the best adobo? No? There will always be, debates over food, your own version. So I think what's interesting in Bicol is that we're fine with Filipino. I write in Filipino, and but we write in our local languages. I mean, we conjure our world in the local languages, and there's this strong desire to really represent ourselves in terms of writing in our local languages. I understand the conflict. I understand. I recognize it, but I think the Filipino as a language remains to be an immense possibility, and that's how it grows. So yeah. Thanks to our language warriors, if but I don't see myself as a language warrior.
Maybe you're a language lover. I mean, that
maybe
is
a lover. It's a good way to.
Yeah. Let me just. I just want to put one more point on your story, and I would like to ask you if you have similar experience coming from language to sexuality. I mean, this queer story you have in your book. I mean, about this boy who feels not being placed in the right body. I found this very open and full of interesting images you find for it. But I mean, how is the reception for this queerness in a quite remote part of the country?
Okay. Well, from the historical perspective again, pre-colonial, we're pretty much, we're not patriarchal. It's a very matriarchal, very open when it comes to the gender roles. What is gender? And then we got colonized.
And then the Catholic
And then
Church
the
brought
Catholicism came in. And so it
patriarchal.
became patriarchal. And so the ascension, that's the title of the story, the ascension of Our Lady Boy, what was culling from that. And more so when it was written, so this is under Philippine speculative fiction. When it was written around 2008, there were very few queer LGBTQ characters being depicted in Philippine speculative fiction. And so that was the challenge that I rose to. At the same time, to be, and a more challenging though, it was the lady boy, the transgender, which for us in Bicol culture, in Rinconada culture, was very much part of our pre-colonial history.
Interesting, I didn't know that.
Yeah, prehistory. We're in a cross-dressing figure. A shaman or a priest is called the babaylan is called the asog, and the asog is the name of the mountain in Iriga.
Yes.
And so there's that. And so it's also grappling with that because in language itself, here in the Philippines, when we say gay sometimes, the depiction is I'm a boy trapped I'm a lady or I'm a woman trapped in a man's body.
This is what the way you articulated it in your
Exactly
book. Yeah,
that,
very much
which
like that,
is,
yeah.
again, in the discourse is usually, okay, either you're straight, you're homo, or you're hetero, or you're homo. We were not yet crossing over, negotiating through the articulation of what is exactly a woman trapped in a man's body, which if you delve into gender studies, then you're talking about the transgender,
Yeah.
which is, again, in contemporary or recent, that's not something really, let's say, part of the language itself up until you start like bringing in gender into it. But it's part of our pre-colonial.
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that. And could you pass over to her? I mean, because in your story, it is all very traditional. It is, in a way, I mean, there's a strong mother, there is a daughter, there's males. I mean, if to me it looked like
But
the
no
classical...
gender differences.
That's right. It's more about, I would say, I mean, these are empowered women you describe. I mean,
yeah.
this is not the typical, I mean, men come and men go.
Yes.
And they are not of real importance. I mean, they are telling
It's
stories.
the women who
Exactly.
create the universe.
Yes, and this is, and I think this is like in many patriarchal societies that from the outside you think the men are ruling, but if you look behind the curtain, you find that
It's always the women.
It's always the women.
Even the character Benny, in Tabi, it's a little girl.
Yeah, we come to her. Yeah, that's right.
So, first of all, I could not. I haven't gone to the point where I have to depart from my sex. It has to be when I write at this point. At that point, when I wrote my story, I'm a woman. So that was my first book. So I'm a woman here. So I had no choice. I had to. That was the easiest thing for me to do.
Okay.
And my point of view is always from the point of view of an empowered woman.
Yeah, I could sense that very
Yes,
much. Yeah.
who makes who creates things, makes things happen.
That's the Bicolano spirit.
Yes, because first of all, that's what we are. It was said that the aswang was an invention of the Spaniards because the Bicolanas were always out, especially in the evenings. Yes, that's a folklore. So they had to create the image of the aswang
Yeah.
To inflict fear.
so that to demonize these very powerful women who went out with the boys, drank as hard as the boys, and And yes,
Expressive as the boy.
also.
Yeah, it's a bit like in Central and Eastern Africa when economic crises are, then these strong kind of, they call them witches or healers. I mean, the moment the crisis comes, they are blamed for everything. They get killed. I mean, that is and these are the strong elements in society. They keep it
Yes.
together and they are healing and
Demonized.
Exactly, and always when the crisis come, they are.
But anyway, there are no stories yet about that. Perhaps.
Perhaps. Pass it over. Yeah, I mean, are you trying to put in these gender reformation, or well, how would you call it? I mean, do you try to put this in
Yeah.
your books as well?
As you can see, as we develop the character of Benny, given that we are in the younger generation where it's always influenced by the Western, that you have to have like a long, straight black hair, where you would see in the commercials, fair skin, white as you can, and then be like a ladylike that you would behave. But I wanted Benny to be the girl, the kid that is full of adventure. That, you know, there's a touch of feminine, but because she's a kid, like all kids, has that adventure and fire in her to discover the world. So as you could see how we have developed it, she's quite feminine with the pigtail, but then the way she wears with just a big t-shirt, and then adventures of putting the slippers on the arms, because here in the Philippines, there are certain ways that when a kid wants to play, they would put the slippers on the arms because they are easily could run. But if they would wear the slippers, definitely their parents will scold them because they will break the slippers. And you know, and it costs money.
Yeah. I understand.
So you know, those I call it the Filipino-ness. I applied it in developing the character. So the kids who would be reading this, especially in the provinces like Bicol, would really relate to it because this is our culture here. Because a lot of children's book is always created mainly in the central, which is Manila, of the way of life.
Yeah.
But you know, kids in the provinces have more adventure because we're in touch in our community and in nature.
Right. Yes. So let me have one final question before we come to an end. I mean, what is your next book? When it's coming out? I mean, this book has just been released,
Yeah.
so asking you is probably quite a
No, actually, I've created the story to the intention to create different story adventure of Benny, and then different endemic flora and fauna that is found in Mount Isarog. So in Mount Isarog, there are different camps. So in different camps, there's different altitude, which have also different flora and fauna. So in different camps, Benny and her friends would be able to more connect to nature and experience the beauty of each altitude of the forest.
So going for environmental issues in a way,
Yes,
and which
yes.
is quite a important
Yes,
thing
like
these
the
days as well.
the endemic flora and fauna, and also understanding that in your own community, you have a very important mountain or volcano that really gives the community sustenance and also holds such abundance.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, Mary Jane, what's your next book? When it's coming out? I mean, when are you delivering?
Wow, that's a monumental question that I
I'm
need
sorry,
to address.
I had to ask
yeah,
it.
I know.
You know who told me to ask the question? I have to.
I'm being pressured to write another book, and I have at the moment I have a collection of stories. Okay, I already have a collection of stories, but I want to integrate them into one whole, and I'm still trying to find a connection between these stories on how they could merge possibly into one interesting thing.
So having an ongoing character, maybe. Or
Maybe that goes through all these stories that I've already made.
Maybe another time traveler. I don't know.
Wouldn't that be boring?
I quite like time travelers, actually. It's,
Yeah, I do too.
this is one of my biggest wishes. I mean, to go back or forth in time. I mean, that's,
Yeah, that's I understand, because that's also one of my interests, and perhaps another time traveler could weave through all these stories that I have already made.
yeah. As
Yeah.
long as it doesn't take 5 more years or whatever. It's,
I hope not.
Kristian will pressure.
Yeah, I'm being pressured. Yeah.
yeah.
There's encouragement. Encouragement.
Highly encouraged to produce.
So, what about your plans?
Of the future.
Yes.
The future.
Time traveling or
Okay, so I have a full short fiction collection in English coming out from Rosarium Publishing. So this is from the US, and it will be released, I think, around June next year. So it will be available in English, of course, in North America and Europe. So that's a complete short fiction collection in English, and speculative fiction, of course.
and why there? I mean, isn't it very colonial? I mean,
No.
post-colonial. I
Well,
would
you
say.
have to understand what Rosarium Publishing represents, and it's very much Rosarium Publishing is very conscious about introducing the world to itself. So if
Okay.
you look at their roster of authors and works, it's very representative of everybody. Like, I think the description is as brown as they could get. But
So we distribute the book here as well on the Philippines.
we're hoping that we have a Philippine edition.
Okay.
So a Philippine edition to make it more accessible to the Philippine audience, but to the readers. But I think it's available for distribution based on their distribution. But initially, it's geared for North America and Europe, because it's exactly that. You explore. And if you're given the opportunities to explore and share it more beyond the boundaries of, like, music, beyond the boundaries, the geographical boundaries of your region where you come from, your home and your country, then why not? It's like opportunities to converse about this. So things like those. So I have that, and then some other projects in the pipeline. I'm still editing Philippine Genre Stories, which is it's a very long-lasting independent publisher of Philippine speculative fiction in the Philippines.
I mean,
So this is available
science fiction
on-
or speculative?
It's everything in between. So you got science fiction, you got horror, you got magical realism,
Brilliant.
crime. So it's available online. It's for free. PhilippineGenreStories.com.
I have to look that up. I mean, that sounds quite interesting.
So it's authored by Filipinos, so you get really a view of what we can offer in Philippine speculative fiction, the kind of writing that we have. So there, and some other projects that I'm hoping I can finish, but for now, there's that. The title of the book is The End That Was, and it's coming out from Rosarium Publishing next year.
And it's these stories. Just one last question: are rooted in the Philippines? I mean, they are.
Yes, of course. It's stemming from us, our history, our culture, but at the same time, it's me playing around with the whole gamut of what you can do with the short fiction craft and your imagination under speculative fiction, of course.
Great. I'm looking forward to all these books coming very soon, or not very soon. I don't know. I mean, so Mia, Mary Jane, Trixie, thanks very much for this.
Thank you so much. Diyos mabalos po.
I've learned again a lot.
Diyos
So
mabalos.
thanks for that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.